LoadTakedown. Overview. The LoadTakedown extension performs a simulation of load takedown for vertical forces defined in the Revit model. The tool always distributes loads evenly and does not take the stiffness of slabs or load distribution of continuous beams into consideration. Tributary areas are simplified and always distribute loads with a 45-degree angle. Even though that by Revit definitions slabs might be spanning in one direction only, the tool always distributes loads into multi-directions. Point supports from the Revit model are used in this tool. Linear supports as boundary conditions for walls are not recognized by the tool. Only wall foundations are recognized as supports automatically. However, the tool offers the option to manually add or refine the supports within the LoadTakedown interface. The LoadTakedown tool uses the material property for the density or unit weight from the model. Ensure that the material definitions are properly assigned for the elements selected for LoadTakedown. Resulting point loads and forces on supports can be written back into the model as reaction forces. Unfortunately, the other analysis tools, for example the Gravity Column Designer, can't use this information. Exercise. To follow this exercise, open the SU002 sample project file from the Open dialog box and open the standard 3D view. Zoom into the area down here and select the whole structure. Use the filter tool to filter out all point loads. These point loads are tributary loads and were applied for the Gravity Column Designer exercise. Delete them, otherwise they will end up in the load summary. Select the whole structure again and start the LoadTakedown module via the Extensions tab. In the following dialog, we select to consider only the current selection and define that the self-weight of the structure has to be added to the deadload1 load case. Hit OK. When steel sections are part of the geometry, a database dialog pops up. Add AUS and AISC to the active databases. This will allow the tool to find the correct section properties according to the selected standards. Click Apply. In the Geometry dialog, under View, select Selection and select different elements in the View window. Notice that the element properties according to the Revit model are displayed at the bottom. There is also an option to only display elements assigned to particular levels. But this does not necessarily work too well for elements spanning over several levels. Switch back to All. Open the Supports dialog. If the model is not properly defined with all necessary supports, additional point and linear supports can be created via the small symbols at the top. This is also a good place to verify the model integrity. Select the little green tick button, which produces a list of warnings, which in this case we can ignore. The Load Cases and Combinations dialog, as well as the Loads dialog, only lists all in Revit defined loads, load cases and combinations. The options we have in the Loads dialog is to select particular loads and delete them if necessary. Via the Structure menu, up the top, we can also reduce live loads according to standards. Once we are happy with the structure and the load settings, we open the Structural Analysis dialog. Click Calculate. A warning dialog appears, which is telling us that 2 loads will be ignored in the calculations. Those 2 loads are horizontal wind loads, which we can accept to be ignored for LoadTakedown. Select Close. The Structural Analysis dialog offers to set different options to explore the results. We can select different load cases or combinations, etc. To display deadload forces on the foundations only, choose case deadload 1, the whole structure, and under Results, Loads on Elements, select Concentrated Forces and only on foundations. This gives us an overview about the resulting forces on our foundations. Open the Report dialog and notice that the picture for the report is according to the settings set in the Structural Analysis dialog. Go back and untick only on foundations to view the whole structure. Select Report again and tick the boxes for the geometry, results and load cases you would like to find in the report. Once you are happy with the report layout, we can either print or save the report as an HTML file. Other options are to export the report straight to Excel or Word. Export the report to Excel via the File menu. Excel will open up in the background with all the report information included in a new sheet. Go back to Revit and select the Save dialog. This allows us to create reaction forces in the Revit model according to the load takedown results. Select the following options: Save loads acting on foundations, dead load and live load, untick wind, as we don't have any wind loads, and hit OK. Notice that additional resulting point loads on the foundations are created in the Revit model. And this concludes the exercise load takedown.